321. Not to worry. I'm reading from section 22 of the West Australian Constitution. It says, oath or affirmation of allegiance. No member of the Legislative Council or Legislative Assembly shall sit or vote therein until he is taken as prescribed before the Governor or some person authorised by the Governor in that behalf. An oath or affirmation of allegiance in the form set out in the schedule. I'm now going to the schedule of their Act. Now, the schedule of their Act says, and I'll read the affirmation, and in this case, Kim Beazley, do solemnly and sincerely affirm and declare that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors according to law. That's the oath of allegiance, the affirmation. Problem is, in the Acts Amendment Repeal Courts and Legal Practice Act, they all threw her out. So everyone had to take an oath of allegiance to be in the Parliament under Section 22, and the allegiance is to Her Majesty. But the Acts Amendment and Repeal Courts and Legal Practice Act, every act that they did in that, at Part 8, is about 10 or 12 acts. Every one of those acts is breach of allegiance. Breach of allegiance in its what you call form is the element for treason. What is the element for misprision of treason? That's the concealment of treason. But there's a big penalty for treason. I'm holding up what you call I'm holding up the Criminal Code Act 1995. I'm holding it away because you don't get that on your podcast. But they're getting it on the YouTube camera. And I'll read it out. It comes out of the Criminal Code Act 1995, Chapter 5, Division 8, Treason and Urging Violence. At Section 81A, definition of organisation. In this division, organisation means a body corporate or an unincorporated body. Now, in Australia, that would catch every body corporate and an incorporated body on an act of concealment of the treason that's occurred, because the state of West Australia is a federated state, but in the Act itself, they also put the Commonwealth. Now, Section 81, as in subdivision 1, says a person commits an offence if the person receives or assists another person who to his or her knowledge has committed an offence against this subsection with the intention of allowing him or her to escape punishment or apprehension. That is literally everyone who's blocked this from going to criminal trial. And the principal person of that has been Damien Bugg, but every Attorney General has blocked it, even though they are the defendants themselves. I've charged every Attorney General for this offence, including Kim Beazley.
How far back does that go?
In that period, 15th December 2006 to 29th of January 2007, there were 40 in that period. There were others before and others after. But by then, the middle of 2007, Victoria had made me a vexatious litigant so that the people of Australia couldn't hear it in a court of law. That's going to disappear now. B, knowing that another person intends to commit an offence against this subsection does not inform a constable of it. Now, I'll stop right there because that's what lets you in. Do you understand what I just said?
Yes.
Explain it to me. Take me off the treason clock because I think I've already nailed it.
Okay, well that was about 7 minutes 50 seconds.
Okay, let's say 7 minutes can nail it. I don't need any more than that. We'll do it in... Let's assume you live in Queensland and you've now got 30 people in a room and you're going to see if this is treason.
Okay, so basically if they have taken out the Queen, no longer any allegiance to the Queen, that's treason.
That's what I'm saying.
Misprision of treason is concealing treason.
Yes.
Knowingly concealing it.
Yes.
What about unknowingly?
Well, when they get it, either in a court of law or by a letter, notice and knowledge, that removes all of that.
Okay.
But
and therefore, if I find this out, then I have a duty to go to a constable and report it and initiate charges against the treasonous ones.
Well, here comes the point I'm making. You've now got 30 people in the room and you're running this on an overhead to see if they agree that this is an act of treason. That's what you call a common law grand jury. You can feed it out from your citizens and initiate a referendum, or just get all the people from the public bar at the pub. Leave out the ones who are already drunk. But they'll see this in half an hour at the most, if it's done correctly. Then you just have a piece of paper, all of them sign it as, I've seen the evidence. The evidence is what you just have been reading there. And I state that this is a criminal offence and I find the charge proven on treason. They sign that piece of paper.
Right.
You've got 23 minimum. They don't need to be on the electoral roll, they only need to have a pulse. And if they can sign it, they've got a pulse. But now, whoever is you picked as the foreman, or 2 or 3 from that little group, just walk it down to the cop shop and say, here's a common law indictment, go and arrest the person. That's what that section's saying.
Good. Now, what happens if the police refuse to do so?
Go back to the pub and do one on them. And keep going back to the pub until they work out, hang on, this is going to happen all the time. Because once you've got any litigation happening, any one of your mates who's got litigation happening can put that into their litigation. It's a signed indictment.
Right.
It's the beginning of sending the person to trial. And treason can only be done by a grand jury. You just had one in a pub. 23 people signed it.
Okay, but the problem here that a lot of people have brought up to me, not just myself, is that the police are not doing their job. When did the police commissioner get this problem from West Australia to Queensland? I don't know.
Point I'm making. Because no one's made them get to do their job.
Yeah.
Because if they don't do their job, you either can arrest them there and give the complaint to the copper standing beside that person, or alternatively, subpoena them into any litigation you want. Subpoena will make them sort of say, oh, we better be done, because this is a Commonwealth Act I read to you then. You will have a State Act for the conditions of treason, and it will contain that same section where you have to inform the police.
Right.
Now, when you've got a state problem, that's the state police. When you've got a Commonwealth problem, that's the federal police.
Right.
Now, when you've got a banking problem, i.e. the banks are working without the Queen in there, it says it at the top. Division, organisation means a body corporate or an unincorporated body. Well, either way, that's the bank. Now Section 3AA of the Crimes Act 1914 kicks in. It then defines what a constitutional corporation is in that act, in that section.
Right.
And it says it's defined by Section 51, subsection 20 of the Commonwealth Constitution. Now, if I can find my Commonwealth Constitution on this table, and I have, I'll read you what that subsection says. It says, subsection 20, foreign corporations. Now, all of our banks in Australia sit under, the secured party for that is the Federal Reserve of New York. Is that a foreign corporation?
Yes.
So suddenly they're back in here under criminal activity, Section 3AA of the Crimes Act. Are we kicking along okay?
Yep.
Foreign corporations and trading or financial corporations formed within the limits of the Commonwealth. Now you're in the big league, because what you call limits of the Commonwealth states simply you can't go outside the limits of the Commonwealth. Taking the Queen out destroys the limits, i.e. you've run across the boundary line flat out and you're heading to another football oval. But you've kicked a goal on an empty oval and you said, put it on my score. I said, like to hell. That oval's got nothing to do with this game. It's all common sense. But Section 3AA, that's a double A, Crimes Act 9, kicks in Section 51 subsection 20 and literally takes out every corporation in this country, makes them active to the offence of treason. And is their board going to conceal it? Well, suddenly you've got the whole board. You're only really looking for the CEO, otherwise there's too much paperwork. So you can form a grand jury in Queensland, common law grand jury, and now you've got a signed indictment if they're all prepared to sign their names to what you put up. You need minimum 21. I couldn't give a hoot if you had 521. Sorry, you need a minimum 23, because that's the grand jury figure. But
So this would solve Israel Folau's problem, wouldn't it?
and bring it to light, because he's collected about $3 million from some Christian lobby group who supported it to get it all happening. The problem is you cannot get that money if you conceal the Queen revealed, because you're actually defeating the purpose of